Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Sunday, March 30th, 2025, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And as you can see, I'm out here in my van/recording studio, and this is going to be a Bigfoot video, and let me kind of give you a little background on where we're coming from. Is our friends over at the Flash of Beauty Bigfoot Revealed channel, they just posted a video with an interview from a couple guys that live in Alabama, and one of them is a guy named Adam Howell, and they just released that video Friday afternoon. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because Adam Howell is the guy I've been working with for about a year, and I've been calling him Alabama Al, and he decided to go public, and the folks from the Flash of Beauty channel, they actually went down to Alabama and they interviewed them. And it's a pretty interesting interview, and like all of our interviews, there was a lot more to it than ended up in the final, because they had to edit some, of course. But I thought I'd talk a little bit today about kind of the backstory behind a lot of that, and my involvement, and how I got involved, and tell you some other stuff that didn't make it into their video, because Adam's story is absolutely amazing. And so let me just start. His experiences started about a year ago, maybe a little longer, and he started having some pretty strange stuff happen. He lives in a little town of Lincoln, Alabama, which is not too far away from the Talladega Super Speedway if you're a NASCAR fan. And he lives not too far off the interstate. But he started having some strange stuff happen around his place, and he and his wife live in a fifth wheel. And so he was having the common stuff. He was having the outside of his fifth wheel slapped at night, and he was hearing something running across the roof, something heavy, and even at times he was seeing shadowy figures in the middle of the night. He'd get up to go potty or something and see some shadowy figure inside his trailer, and it was spooking him pretty bad. And so finally, and he talks about most of that in the video. And one of the things that finally happened is all of a sudden he went to go outside one day, and here's a deer skull of a 4-point buck sitting on his step. Well, where in the world did that come from? What's going on? He was getting pretty spooked. He's a Christian guy, and he thought maybe he was dealing with bad spirits or demonic presences or something like that, and he wasn't quite sure how to deal with it. A couple of other things, when he was outside, he would see this flashes of movement, and one thing they didn't talk about in the AFOB video was that there's an old derelict house on the property there, and part of it's collapsed. But the one wall is still standing, has a window, and the window still has glass in it. And he'd look over there, and here's a little girl standing behind and looking through that window at him. And he'd see some other little heads in there too. But this little girl would just stand in there and stare at him. Well, he was thinking ghosts and all that kind of stuff. And like I say, it was spooking him pretty bad. And I don't recall exactly how he heard about me. I think maybe he might have been researching Bigfoot videos or something, and maybe one of my videos popped up on his feed or something. I'm not sure how he originally heard from me. I'm sure he told me, but I don't remember. But anyway, he started watching my stuff, and he finally reached out to me in a comment, and I sent him my email address, and he emailed me, and next thing we were talking on the phone. And now he's spooked to the point where he's not sure. He's thinking he needs to go out there with a shotgun and start shooting at these things or something. And I told him, no, don't do that. What it sounds like to me is it sounds like it's young ones trying to get your attention. That the whole thing is kind of a hi, we're here thing. And you just need to go out. You need to go out and confront them and say, hey, I know you're here, and realize it. So I kind of worked with him, and now I've worked with quite a few people and helped them make contact. And Adam wasn't the first one, I don't think. Maybe he was. I think there was a couple before him, but he was one of the first ones that I did that with. Well, after I talked to him for a while and kind of got him calmed down a little bit, I said, well, let's try. Let's see what happens. And so one evening, I got him. He went outside his trailer, and I told him, I said, look around, see if you see any little, just a small area that's out of focus or something. And he said, well, yeah, there's one right in front of me, just across the driveway from me, standing out in the grass. And I said, well, how big is it? And he said, well, it's probably 5 foot tall or something like that. I said, well, start talking to it. And so I helped him, and we asked for a name. And, and I told Adam the same thing I tell everybody else as far as how to do it. And the procedure hasn't really changed. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll tell you to go to my channel and go to my Bigfoot Stuff playlist and scroll back a ways and find one that's called my 100th Bigfoot Stuff video. Do you want to make contact? And watch that video and do everything it tells you to do, and it works. And that's what we did with Adam. And well, we got a name. The name we got was Sana. It's either Sana or Sanya, something like that. And she was 6 or 8 years old, somewhere along that line, and just a little female. And so immediately he went out there and he got a name. And as soon as he did that, and he started asking, please don't be banging on my trailer and all that kind of stuff. Well, that stuff quit. It stopped. And so as we ended up having a few more experiences, and he started seeing them. They started letting him see them, both in cloaked form and in full solid form. Well, he was taking pictures, and he was sending me pictures, and I used a few of them in some of my videos. And what happened here was that my local Sasquatch folks, they objected to me using those pictures, and I'd made a promise to them a long time ago that I would never try to take their picture. Well, there was times that Adam would be in his trailer, and all of a sudden he'd get mind speak saying, hey, come out and take a picture. And he'd go out and take a picture, and he'd catch 3 or 4 of them in the picture. And so I kind of thought, well, if they want their picture taken and I didn't take the picture, and this is clearly the other side of the country, then maybe it's okay for me to use them in my YouTube videos. Well, what happened is my local Sasquatch folks, they objected to that. They reminded me that I made them a promise. And so I quit using them. I quit using those pictures, and I got a bunch of them. But I quit using them. The other interesting thing that happened is the first few that he sent me, some of them were pretty crystal clear. And then he started sending them to me, and they would be clear on his end when he sent them, and when they got on my end, they'd be fuzzy. The typical blob squatches, a lot of them. And I don't know how they do that, but I think somehow they had something to do with that. So anyway, I kept my promise to him, and I quit using pictures from him or anybody else, because I had 3 or 4 people sending me pictures, and I still have people sending me pictures, and some of them are pretty remarkable. But anyway, a couple other little things that happened around Al's place is he's got a neighbor, and apparently the little ones were over there terrorizing the neighbor as well. And the neighbor, he's not into the whole paranormal thing, and so he kept thinking it was neighbor kids doing that, and neighbor kids coming over there in the middle of the night and banging on his house and all this kind of stuff. And well, and like they said in the video, there's not a whole lot of kids in that neighborhood. So, were they neighbor kids now? Not likely. Well, one of the things he did is he put out motion lights and to light up his backyard. Well, they tore him off the house. They literally ripped him off the house. They got the local Sasquatch folks got so frustrated with him at one point that they literally beat the front fenders in his car. I mean, literally looked like a car been in a wreck. And Adam was telling me about that. And anyway, so that was going on. And Adam told me one night, he said he looked out there, and their house, they're in a house, and the house has a little concrete back step from the back door with like 3 steps down to the ground, a little concrete stoop, if you will. And he said he's standing there looking, and here's his little cloaked Sasquatch, a little cloaked being, run up the stairs, jump off the thing, run around to the stairs, and run back up the stairs and jump off of it. And he said, kept doing that, like a little kid playing, like any little kid anywhere playing. Well, Adam had quite a series of other encounters, and I think initially he had a real hard time wrapping his head around what was happening, and I helped him with that. And we had quite a few phone calls and text messages back and forth, and he would tell me what happened, and I'd try to tell him what I thought was going on. I don't know whether I was right or not, but anyway, then came the time that he had the big healing that he talked about. And I initially didn't know how serious his back problem was. He told me he had a back problem, and he was working construction, and so he worked all over the state. And so he spent a lot of time driving, and his back was just in agony all the time. Well, in his interview, he talks about sleeping standing up in the corner, and he told me about all that. But when they fixed his back, or when his back got magically fixed, however it happened, and I think I know, and he knows, and I think you probably know too, what actually happened there. But that was life-changing for him, absolutely life-changing. So once he knew they were there, and once he accepted the fact that they were there, then they started showing up at his place of work, and he'd have a job 50 miles away, and all of a sudden he'd be getting the hi, we're here, even there where it was at. They'd go home one evening after work, and they'd come back the next day, and they'd be stick glyphs and everything left for him. And so, he knew they were around, and they were letting him know. They're basically pretty much everywhere. Little sidebar story to that I got to tell you that I thought was kind of funny is where the name Alabama Al actually came from. Well, when he first introduced himself, I thought he told me his name was Alan Howell. And so the Alabama Al just fit just perfect. Well, I knew him for months and months and months before I knew that I had his name wrong. I actually would talk to him on the phone, and I'd call him Alan, and he never corrected me. Well, somewhere along the line, it came up that I had the name wrong the whole time. And Adam, I apologize for that, and it's kind of funny to look back on it, but you never said anything, so I thought I had it right. But when we first started, he wasn't real keen on coming out public about what he'd experienced. And so as a result, we came up with that name and figured that would protect his privacy. And I vowed to him that I would protect his privacy until such time as he decided that he didn't need to do that anymore, that he was going to come out in public. And he did, with Brett and Jill from the Flash and Beauty Bigfoot Revealed channel. And now I don't even know how they found out about him. I think they might have found out about him through his buddy there. But I don't know that they found out about him through me. I don't know that they made the contact initially that he was Alabama Al that I talked about. And Jill, if you watch this, put a comment down there and fill me in on the blanks, because I'm not sure how that all happened. But, then along came the thing about the pregnancy. And he told the story very well. There's really nothing I can add about that, other than say the way he explained it to me is that his wife was... the delicate way of saying it is she was born without certain lady parts necessary to have children. And so she'd been told that there's no possible way that she could ever have a child. And then what do you know? She turns up pregnant. And so, your guess is as good as mine how all that works. And Adam told the story very, very good, very, very well. When I saw that video the other day, by the way, that's the first time I've ever seen what he looks like. I had no idea. I've talked to him on the phone many times, and we've texted back and forth many times, but I had never even seen a picture of him to know what he actually looked like. Well, now he works, like I say, he works all over the state, works construction, and runs heavy machinery, drives trucks, and all this kind of stuff like that. He has no more back problems. He sent me a picture of his little boy, and a cute little guy. And everything seems to be fine. But let me tell you a couple other little sidebars that kind of passed over. Number one, these things may or may not amount to anything, but there's some things that he's noticed. And one of the things is that little patch of woods where he lives there. It's not really very big, and it's not really very far off the interstate. But he'd go walking in there, and he'd find stuff. And he'd tell me about it. Sometimes take a picture of it. And there was some stuff quite remarkable. There was one picture he sent me where there was a tree, about maybe a 10-inch tree. And you could see the first foot and a half of the tree coming out of the ground. And then you could see the rest of the tree going up about 8 foot above the ground. But there was a section there that was absolutely missing. I mean, it was there, and he said it was there, but in the picture it was gone. And you could see right through it. You could see all the vegetation behind it. Well, I told him, I said, could you go back there and get another picture of that in the normal way to see if that came and went, and if that possibly was a cloaked Sasquatch standing in front of it or something? And so he went back in there, and that whole assembly was gone. It wasn't even there. And he said there's several times he's walked back there and found something, And then when he walked back there again, then everything had been rearranged. It was like it was a whole different place. I have no idea how that happened or what they did there. There's definitely something going on there. Another thing and he sent me pictures of it. He sent me pictures of several of the local Sasquatch folks or whatever standing there, and standing right with them are dogmen. And they're obviously not enemies. They're standing there together. You know, kind of like the locals hanging out on the backyard or something. And so, you know, I've run into that another place too, where there's Sasquatches and dogmen live together. So they're not mortal enemies like some people would have you believe, at least not everywhere. Another little tidbit of information is, you know, we know that they can change form and that they can do all kinds of stuff. And there's a couple of pretty big trees in this little wooded area by his house. And one of the particularly big trees, he actually has seen them come out of the tree, literally materialize out of the tree. And it seemed like they kind of hung around that tree a lot. Well, over a period of time, he says he was watching that tree, and he said that tree changed, and it started looking like it was stressed. And now we're under the impression, under the understanding, and of course we could be wrong, that they're able to change into their energy form, and they're able to go into a tree and just absorb the energy from that tree. In the form, and it's kind of how they get their nourishment, how they eat. They don't always eat like we do every time. They can actually absorb energy from the earth itself, but they can absorb energy from trees. And he'd actually seen them come and go from this tree. Well, he said the tree started looking kind of bad, and he was wondering if maybe, just maybe, there were so many of them, and they were taking so much nourishment from this tree that it was starting actually to affect the tree. So he'd been kind of keeping an eye on that. And that's something that's, once again, we don't know. One of these days, maybe they'll explain to us how all that worked. But that's one thing he noticed over a period of time. So, well, Adam decided to go public, and he did. And you can watch that video. And in fact, I suggest you go and do it. But I thought I'd give you a little bit more background. You know, Adam's a pretty intelligent guy, and he's got a pretty extensive background. And there's just been some stuff happen with him that there's just no way that any of us can understand. And in that little short 1-hour video that they did, and he said that they left a lot of other stuff on the cutting room floor. And of course, that's what happens when you edit videos. They did the same thing when they interviewed me. And but Adam's videos in the first 24 hours hit over 30,000 views. Now, my video that they did of me 11 months ago now is over 180,000 views now. And so you can go over to the Flash of Beauty Bigfoot Revealed channel and watch either one or both of those. But I thought I'd take a little bit of time this afternoon just to give you a little bit more background on me talking with Adam, aka Alabama Al, and what's happened in the last year with him. It's been one of the most intriguing stories that I've come across, and one of the most amazing. And I think with that, I'll wrap this one up. And as I always tell you, take care of each other and love each other. And I'm shooting with this on my new phone, and the back at you camera is better on this phone than it was with the old phone. It's a wider screen, and it makes these talk to you videos work a lot easier. And if you notice, I didn't cut my chin off, I didn't cut my head off, the top of my head off, because I can see what I'm doing. And I think I'm really going to like this thing. My last video that I shot was when my wheel bearing video, and that was the first video I shot with the new phone. And of course, that was a bunch of little vignettes that I strung all together. But this is the first sit down and talk to the camera video on this new phone. And I think I'm going to like the way it works, and I think the quality seems to be pretty good. So I guess with that, I'll let you go for the day. I hope you all have a good, happy Sunday and blessed Sunday. And until we see you again on the next one, let me just tell you, peace out.